are all bad things that happen to you really all just bad things? I don't think so, right? So let me tell you a story of what I mean with that. I don't think that that's true, for me at least, and I think for you as well. So when I was younger, I got bullied because I look different. I have orange hair. I didn't have orange hair, but I have orange hair. I was more overweight. I'm not overweight anymore, but I was overweight. And because of some other things, but let's not get into every single detail, right? But because of this, people called me names and whatnot. You know, I even had to defend myself a couple of times, mostly because it's like one-on-one, and then I'm gonna defend myself, you know, or stand up for myself. But most of the times, within groups that did it. But again, not important. Now, that didn't make me love myself or didn't make me like myself, right? Because I got bullied for looking different. But what it did do was make me a lot harder mentally, right? Because they were attacking me, and that was most of the time was like not physical but mentally, because it hurt my self-image, it hurt my confidence, it hurt my ego, it hurt everything basically, right? It hurt everything. But because of that, I had to become harder, because if I always gonna let people just talk shit about me and whatever, and cry about it, become angry about it, nothing's ever gonna change. So because I got bullied and everything and this happened, I did become stronger mentally, and now it doesn't bother me when people call me names. It's whatever, I don't really care. And the thing is, it also helped me lose weight, because people were calling me fat and ugly and whatever, right? But because of that, I also thought, you know, I didn't like my body anyways. I know I need to lose weight. Other people are even saying it, and they can make jokes about it. And so that maybe not motivated me, but it helped me lose weight as well, right? I really realized, like, I really need to do that. Now, one other thing is I learned to fight because I had to protect myself. So I did fighting sports, right? Kickboxing when I was younger, boxing, MMA, I run, you know, so I became fitter, I could protect myself, I became harder mentally, all because I got bullied. Now, at the time, that wasn't fun, right? Getting bullied wasn't fun, obviously, but I did get some things from it, right? Another example is I spent a lot of time alone. Now, that was partially because of the bullying as well, because I had no self-esteem, and because of the bullying, I just, you know, didn't like the way I looked, and so I thought, you know, I'm just gonna be alone, nobody wants to be with me, you know, didn't feel worthy enough, and whatnot, right? All these things in my mind. So I spent a lot of time alone, and a lot of people would say, yeah, that's bad, and at the time, I didn't like that at all. I didn't like being alone all the time. I always wanted to be with people and have more friends and, you know, and do more things, but I never got the opportunity. I was never asked to do stuff. I was always the person asking. And again, that just messed me up a little bit mentally, right? But because I spent a lot of time alone, I did learn to be alone. I did learn who I really was, you know. I learned what I liked. I learned who I want to be. And I just learned to be okay with being by myself. I can now have fun by myself. And that's something I learned. Even though in the beginning that was a bad thing, right? Being alone. I didn't like that at all, but because of the bad thing, I got something that's good. And this is just mentally, right? And you can do this physically as well. You can do this physically in a way of, for example, for me, once I stretched out my entire ankle ligament by jumping on things, and my whole ankle was like, right, and it almost ripped. It just stretched it out completely. And so I went to the hospital to get a picture, or to get a picture done. And they saw that my thing was like stretched out, or what, it wasn't ripped at least, so it had to be stretched out. And then they saw a 2-week-old fracture, at least 2 weeks old fracture in my heel. So I also had a broken heel. Now this made sense because my heel felt a little bit weird, but I was just stamping on it like, and the feeling went away. So I was like, it's fine, right? So when I look back, it's like, all right, yeah, I understand why it was broken. Now, because of this, obviously I couldn't walk anymore. So that's a bad situation, right? It hurts, cannot move it, I cannot walk, I cannot play outside. But what did I get? I got crutches and a wheelchair. Now, you might be thinking like, all right, you got crutches and a wheelchair. Yeah, good for you, man. You still cannot run and play. But what can I do? I learned the wheelie in the wheelchair. And that was a lot of fun. at the end, when I could walk again, I didn't even want the wheelchair to be gone, right? I still wanted the wheelchair just because I had so much fun doing the wheelie on it, right? So I learned to do the wheelie just because I couldn't walk anymore, right? So I couldn't walk and couldn't do this, but because of that, I could now learn to do the wheelie, or I could have fun in a wheelchair or whatever, you know. It maybe it's weird, but looking back, it's like, yeah, that was actually quite a lot of fun, and at the time, I even had quite a lot of fun. So something bad, something good. And so even when those bad things happened, I still found something good in it, right? Now, sure, there are some situations which are very bad, like way worse than I just said, right? Like anger or bullying or being alone, right? I understand losing someone and a parent or family, a friend, sure, but even in those situations, I think I'm pretty sure you can find something, right? Now, that doesn't mean that just because you can find something good in that situation, that the bad thing just disappears, right? That's obviously. But I think you can find something in those situations that will at least help you, right? I think 99% of the time, you can find something that is good, even in those hard moments. Like, did I learn something from it? Did I become better because of it? Can I do different things because of it? Do I understand something now that I didn't? Do I know more about the world? Do I know more about myself because of it? You know, did I have an experience that I learned from, right? That those are all basically good things because of a bad situation. Now, 99% of the time, or at least for people who don't learn it, right? A lot of the time, people just don't realize that in those situations, and they find out later, you know, maybe a few weeks, maybe a few months, maybe a few years, and maybe even decades of your life, and you look back and you're like, that was actually a fun period, even though that bad thing happened, or I actually learned from that bad thing that happened. I actually learned from it. And the thing is, I think it's something that you can learn to do earlier in your life, right? Instead of waiting and not seeing it, and then later when you look back, you're like, oh, I learned from it. I think you can even do it like the day it happened, if you're really skilled at it and whatever, right? You can do that by, for example, asking yourself questions when something like that bad situation happened, or even ask yourself questions whenever really it helps. Right, because it makes you more focused, not on per se the situation. You're letting yourself step out of the situation, right? With thinking outside of the situation. And you can ask yourself questions like, how do I really feel about this, right? How do I really feel about this situation that happened? Or what can I do to make this something I can learn from? Or is this really as bad as it seems right now? Because a lot of the times it's worse up close than it is from a distance, right? Same as when you're next to somebody and somebody falls, you're like, oh no. But from a distance, people are laughing. Why? Because it looks funny. It's not that serious from afar. So when you step back, you can see multiple perspectives, and that's what these questions are doing, right? They're giving you multiple perspective and multiple thinking possibilities, maybe. I don't know how you could call that. Is this really as bad as it seems? Is this something I should focus on? Does this do anything for me? No, those are just some questions that you can ask yourself as an example, right? There's multiple questions, and I could make a whole video about questions like that, for example. That's basically every single question you ask could help you in some way, right? And some questions help you more than others. So you can find your own questions that work best for you in situations that aren't pleasant. But you're asking yourself questions, and to ask those questions and really be honest, you have to keep an open mind, especially when those situations just happened, because then you're just really focused on the bad things and whatnot. So when you really like try and detach from that situation and think openly, you're like you can easier answer these questions correctly, instead of just saying, can I learn something from it? No, I can't. No, well, my situation. When you're really open-minded and you're like, can I learn something from this situation? And you can really think, you can really seek for an answer, basically, right? And it sounds a little weird or wishy-washy maybe, but it is true. when you can really calmly, with an open mind, ask the question, then you'll get a better answer than if you are very angry at the moment. It's pretty obvious, right? If your anger takes over, you're not gonna be able to answer quietly or just very relaxed. So yeah, try and keep an open mind. And it's easier said than done. It's easier said than done, don't get me wrong. It's pretty hard to do that. It's pretty hard to do that, especially when it just happened, as I said, right? But you just have to, what I said, stay calm and sort of get yourself out of the situation. Mentally, that is, or physically even, that works too. But you can learn to do it. It's hard, but you can learn to do it better, right? The same with everything. Basically, it's just like, the more you do it, the better you become. It's like with practice makes perfect, right? Even though perfection doesn't exist. But you can practice it to become better, and you can, or you should probably practice it with small stuff first, right? Oh, somebody made a weird face to me, and normally it would be like angry and like, does it really matter that much? No, have a good day, right? And that's already like changing the way you think a little bit, because that's what you ultimately want to do, right? Change the way you think and stay calm, and then just don't let things provoke your emotions that much. So yeah, that's what seeing the good in the bad is. Not just because there's something good in the bad means that the whole bad thing goes away, but why would you want to focus on only the bad if you can focus even on a little bit of good, right? Bad emotions, good emotions. I would rather feel good emotions even in a bad situation. Doesn't mean that you cannot cry or you cannot, feel bad, but try and also feel good in a situation. I would rather feel bad or feel good in a bad situation than feel bad in a bad situation. And I think that you want to do the same thing, right? I'm guessing that everybody would want to feel good in a bad situation. Sure, sometimes feeling bad in a bad situation, that's fine. If you just need that for a moment, that's totally okay as well. But just don't try and do that all the time. I think that would make your life and people's lives in general a little better. But yeah, trying to see the good in the bad things will make your life a lot better. Hopefully this video helped you out. If you got any questions, let me know. Don't forget to subscribe, and I hope you have a wonderful day. See you guys in the next one.